The bridge of the USS Defender was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines and the occasional beep from the control panels. Commander Jake Harrison stood with his hands behind his back, watching the main screen that showed the vast darkness of space ahead. They had been traveling for 18 months to reach this place, and now they were finally here. Jake was a tall man with short brown hair and sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. He had spent 20 years in Earth's military, rising through the ranks by being smart and careful. He knew how to fight, and he knew how to win. That was why Earth Command had chosen him to lead this mission. Next to him, Lieutenant Amy Foster sat at the weapons station. She was young, only 28 years old, but she was one of the best tactical officers Earth had ever trained. Her fingers moved quickly across the glowing screens in front of her, checking and rechecking every weapon system on the ship. Everything had to be perfect for what was coming. At the communications station, Ensign Chris Bennett suddenly sat up straight. He pressed his hand against his earpiece and listened carefully. His face grew serious as he turned to look at the commander. "Sir, we are receiving distress signals," Chris said. "The Confederation fleet is under attack. They are asking for help. They say they are losing badly." Jake nodded slowly. He had expected this. The reports from Earth intelligence had warned them that the Krellian Empire was pushing hard into this sector. The Confederation, a group of 7 alien races who had banded together for protection, was fighting with everything they had. But it was not enough. "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The view changed, and suddenly they could see the battle. It was happening about 2 million kilometers ahead of them. Bright flashes of light filled the darkness as weapons fired back and forth. Ships exploded in silent bursts of flame and debris. Even from this distance, Jake could tell the Confederation was losing. "How many enemy ships?" he asked. Captain Linda Martinez, the tactical officer, studied her screens carefully. She was a veteran with 15 years of combat experience, and her analysis was always accurate. "I count 43 Krellian warships, sir. They are arranged in a standard attack formation. The Confederation has maybe 20 ships left, and most of them are damaged." Jake walked closer to the screen, studying the enemy formation. The Krellians were good fighters. They had built an empire by conquering weaker races and taking their resources. They had better weapons than most species in the galaxy, and they knew how to use them. But they had never fought humans before. "What about their shields and armor?" Jake asked. Linda brought up more information on her screen. "Heavy shielding on all ships designed to absorb energy weapons. Thick armor plating on the hull, standard configuration for their navy. They rely on taking hits while they overwhelm their enemies with firepower. But they have never seen kinetic weapons before," Amy said quietly, a small smile on her face. "No, they have not," Jake agreed. The Krellians, like most spacefaring races, used energy-based weapons. Lasers, plasma cannons, particle beams. These were powerful weapons, but they all worked the same basic way. They could be blocked by shields designed to disperse energy. Humans had taken a different path. Earth's scientists had perfected railgun technology, weapons that used electromagnetic force to launch solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. When a tungsten rod weighing several tons hit a target at a significant fraction of light speed, no energy shield in the galaxy could stop it. "Lieutenant Clark, bring us in closer," Jake ordered. "Full stealth mode. I want us invisible until we are ready to strike." "Yes, sir," Ryan Clark replied from the helm. He was the ship's pilot, a calm man with steady hands and quick reflexes. He had flown everything from atmospheric fighters to deep space interceptors, and he knew the Defender better than anyone. The USS Defender began to move forward. The ship was beautiful in its own way. Not elegant like the flowing designs of some alien vessels, but powerful and purposeful. It was built like a weapon, because that was exactly what it was. Every system, every piece of equipment, every bolt and wire had one purpose: to win battles. As they moved closer, the stealth systems activated. Special panels on the hull absorbed radar and sensor waves instead of reflecting them. The engines were designed to produce almost no detectable emissions. Heat sinks pulled in any waste energy that might show up on thermal scanners. To anyone looking, the space where the Defender traveled appeared completely empty. "We are now within optimal firing range," Amy reported. "All weapon systems are ready. Missiles loaded, railguns charged, point defense systems online." Jake watched the battle continue to unfold on the screen. Another Confederation ship exploded, its hull torn apart by concentrated Krellian fire. He could see the alien ships moving in their formation, confident and methodical. They thought they had already won. "Chris, are you monitoring their communications?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir," the young ensign replied. "They are coordinating their attacks through their command carrier. That is the big ship in the center of their formation. If that ship goes down, they will lose their tactical coordination." "Then that is our first target," Jake said. He turned to look at his crew. These men and women had trained for 2 years for this moment. They had run simulations hundreds of times. They knew their jobs, and they trusted each other. That was good, because what they were about to do would change everything. "Listen up," Jake said, and every person on the bridge turned to look at him. "We are about to show the Krellian Empire something they have never seen before. We are going to show them what happens when you pick a fight with humanity. We are going to hit them hard and fast, and we are not going to stop until they are running scared. Every species in this galaxy is going to remember this day. Are you ready?" "Yes, sir," came the chorus of voices. Jake took a deep breath and let it out slowly. This was it. The moment when humanity announced itself to the galaxy. The moment when Earth's children stepped onto the galactic stage and showed everyone what they were capable of. "Drop stealth on my mark," he said quietly. "Amy, prepare to fire all forward weapons. Target the command carrier. I want it destroyed in the first salvo." "Targeting locked," Amy confirmed. Her hands hovered over the firing controls. Jake stared at the enemy formation. 43 ships. Thousands of crew members who had no idea what was about to happen. He felt no joy in what was coming, but he felt no hesitation either. These Krellians had chosen to be conquerors. They had chosen to attack peaceful species. Now they would learn that some prey could bite back. "Mark," Jake said. "Fire." The USS Defender's stealth field dropped away in an instant, and suddenly the human warship appeared on every sensor screen in the Krellian fleet. Alarm systems began screaming throughout the enemy ships. Officers shouted orders. Weapons crews scrambled to acquire the new target. But they were already too late. Amy Foster's fingers pressed down on the firing controls, and the Defender's main railgun spoke. There was no sound in the vacuum of space, but inside the ship, the crew felt the vibration as the massive weapons discharged. Tungsten projectiles, each one weighing 3 tons and moving at 70,000 kilometers per second, streaked across the darkness toward the Krellian command carrier. The enemy ship's shields flared bright blue as they tried to absorb the incoming fire. Energy shields were designed to spread out the impact of lasers and particle beams across their entire surface. But kinetic projectiles did not work that way. They concentrated all their energy into one tiny point, and they hit with the force of a small nuclear weapon. The first projectile punched through the shield like it was not even there. The second and third followed microseconds later, hitting the same general area. The command carrier's thick armor, which could withstand sustained laser fire for hours, cracked and shattered under the impact. The fourth and fifth projectiles went straight through the hull and into the ship's interior. The explosions began deep inside the Krellian vessel. Secondary blasts rippled through the corridors as fuel lines ruptured and ammunition stores detonated. In less than 5 seconds, the entire command carrier was tearing itself apart from the inside. Then the main reactor went critical, and the huge warship vanished in a massive explosion that lit up the battlefield like a small sun. "Direct hit," Amy reported, her voice calm and professional. "Enemy command ship destroyed." Debris field expanding. Jake watched the results on his screen. The Confederation forces had stopped firing, probably in shock at what they had just witnessed. The Krellian fleet was in chaos. Without their command carrier, the individual ships were trying to figure out what to do on their own. "Chris, what are their communications saying?" Jake asked. The ensign listened to his equipment for a moment. "Confusion, sir. They are asking each other what happened. They are trying to identify us. Some of them think we might be a new Confederation weapon. They will figure it out soon enough," Jake said. "Linda, analysis of their formation?" Captain Martinez studied her tactical display. "They are spreading out. trying to present more difficult targets. 3 ships are moving to flank us from the left. 4 more are coming around from the right. They are going to try to surround us and hit us from multiple directions. Classic pincer movement, Jake observed. Amy, rotate our firing arc. I want you to target the ships on our left flank first. 2 shots per target. Ryan, keep us moving. Do not let them pin us down. Yes, sir, both officers responded. The Defender began to move, its engines pushing it through space with acceleration that would have been impossible for the larger Krellian vessels. The human ship darted between enemy formations like a shark moving through a school of fish. The railguns fired again, and 2 Krellian cruisers on the left flank took direct hits. Their shields failed instantly, and their hulls cracked open, venting atmosphere and bodies into space. The Krellians were finally starting to return fire. Purple beams of concentrated energy lanced out from a dozen enemy ships, converging on the Defender's position. But Ryan Clark was already moving, executing evasive maneuvers that he had practiced 10,000 times in the simulator. The ship twisted and rolled, engines firing in carefully timed bursts that made its path unpredictable. Most of the enemy fire missed completely. A few shots grazed the Defender's shields, which flared and held. The human ship's defensive systems were designed by engineers who had studied every major space battle in recorded history, human and alien. They knew exactly how much power was needed, and they had built in triple redundancy for every critical system. Shields holding at 96%, Linda reported. Minor energy drain, nothing critical. Keep moving, Ryan, Jake ordered. Amy, switch to rapid fire mode. I want you to keep hitting them. Do not give them time to coordinate a response. The railguns began firing in a steady rhythm, 1 shot every 3 seconds. Each shot was carefully aimed at a different target. Amy was not trying to destroy ships anymore. She was crippling them, taking out engines and weapon systems. A ship with no engines could not maneuver. A ship with no weapons could not fight. They became floating debris, no longer a threat. The Krellians were trying to adapt. Jake could see them changing their tactics, spreading out more, trying to get shots in from unexpected angles. They were not stupid. They were experienced warriors who had won many battles. But they had never fought anyone like humans before. On Earth, war had been refined over thousands of years. Humans had fought each other in every environment imaginable. On land, on sea, in the air, and eventually in space. Every generation had learned from the mistakes of the previous one. Every defeat had been studied and analyzed. The entire species had become very, very good at organized violence. The Krellians had fought aliens who thought like them, who used similar tactics and strategies. But humans thought differently. Human doctrine emphasized speed over durability, precision over overwhelming firepower, and adaptability over rigid formations. The Defender was built to take advantage of all of these principles. More ships coming around from the right, Linda announced. 6 heavy cruisers. They are trying to box us in. Let them come, Jake said. Chris, send a message to the Confederation fleet. Tell them to pull back and let us work. We do not want them caught in the crossfire. Message sent, sir, Chris confirmed. They are acknowledging, moving to a safer distance. Jake watched as the 6 Krellian cruisers moved into position. They were being cautious now, keeping their distance, trying to use their numbers to their advantage. It was a smart move, but it would not be enough. Amy, I need you to do something for me, Jake said. I want you to target the ships that are already damaged. The ones that are still fighting but clearly hurt. Put them out of commission completely. Amy understood immediately what he was doing. Psychological warfare. Show them that once we hurt them, we finish the job. Exactly, Jake confirmed. They need to understand that fighting us is suicide. The railguns shifted targets, focusing on the Krellian ships that were trailing smoke and debris. One by one, the damaged vessels took final hits that knocked out their remaining systems. They went dark, powerless and helpless. The effect on the Krellian fleet was immediate. Jake could see ships starting to pull back, creating more distance between themselves and the human warship. They were afraid now. Good. Fear would make them make mistakes. Enemy formation is breaking up, Linda reported. They are no longer operating as a coordinated unit. Some ships are advancing, some are retreating. They do not know what to do. Then let us make the decision for them, Jake said. Ryan, plot a course straight through the center of their fleet. Maximum speed. Amy, fire at will on any target that presents itself. We are going to cut them in half. The USS Defender surged forward, accelerating to speeds that made the Krellian commanders doubt their sensor readings. The human ship plunged into the heart of the enemy formation, its weapons firing continuously. Railgun projectiles tore through hulls, point defense lasers shot down incoming missiles, shield emitters deflected energy beams that got too close. It was chaos, beautiful, controlled chaos. The Defender was a scalpel cutting through the Krellian fleet, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. Ships exploded or went dark. Debris filled space. The proud Krellian formation that had been systematically destroying the Confederation forces just minutes ago was now scattered and broken. And in the middle of it all, the USS Defender kept moving, kept fighting, kept proving that humanity deserved its place among the stars. Admiral Vector of the Krellian Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest, and watched his fleet fall apart. His four-clawed hands gripped the railing in front of him, hard enough to leave marks in the metal. His scaled face, normally a deep purple color that indicated calm confidence, had shifted to a pale gray that showed fear and confusion. In 40 years of military service, Vector had never seen anything like this. The unknown vessel, this human ship, moved through space like nothing he had ever encountered. It was small compared to Krellian warships, perhaps one-third the size of his cruisers. But size clearly did not matter. "Status report," he demanded, his voice coming out as a harsh hiss through his translator. His tactical officer, a younger Krellian named Seklin, looked up from his console with eyes wide with panic.
"Sir, we have lost 9 ships completely destroyed.
14 more are damaged and unable to fight. The command carrier is gone. We cannot maintain formation cohesion. 9 ships. Vector had lost 9 ships in less than 10 minutes. The command carrier alone had cost the Empire 15 years of construction and resources from 3 conquered worlds. And this human vessel had destroyed it with what appeared to be a single attack. "What kind of weapons are they using?" Vector asked. "Unknown, sir," Seklin replied. "Our sensors show no energy buildup before they fire. No heat signature. No charged particles. The projectiles simply appear and then impact our ships. Our shields are completely ineffective against them." Vector's mind raced. The Krellian Empire had conquered 47 star systems. They had defeated countless enemies. Their military technology was supposed to be superior to anything in this region of space. Yet here was a single ship from a species they had never even heard of, and it was winning. "Send out a fleet-wide communication," Vector ordered. "All ships are to concentrate fire on the human vessel. I want every weapon we have firing at it simultaneously. We will overwhelm their defenses through sheer volume." "Yes, sir," the communications officer responded. The order went out, and 28 Krellian warships that were still capable of fighting turned their weapons toward the USS Defender. Energy cannons, plasma torpedoes, quantum disruptors, and fusion missiles all fired at once. The volume of firepower was enough to sterilize the surface of a planet. Vector watched the tactical display intently. Surely no ship could survive that much firepower. The humans might have superior weapons, but their defenses had to have limits. This attack would find those limits, but the human ship kept moving. It twisted and rolled through space in patterns that seemed to violate basic physics. Most of the Krellian fire missed completely. The few shots that came close were deflected by shields that appeared far more powerful than their size suggested, and through it all the human vessel kept firing back, each shot finding its target with terrifying precision. "They are still operational," Seklin reported, his voice shaking slightly. "Minimal damage detected. Sir, their defensive systems are beyond anything in our database." Vector felt something he had not experienced in many years. Genuine fear. The humans were not just defeating his fleet. They were making it look easy. How was this possible? Where had this species come from? Why had Imperial intelligence never warned him about them? "Sir, 6 more ships are reporting critical damage," another officer called out. "They are requesting permission to withdraw." "Denied," Vector snapped. "No ship withdraws. We outnumber them. We will win through persistence." But even as he said the words, he knew they sounded hollow. Numbers did not matter if your weapons could not hurt the enemy. Numbers did not matter if your ships were being picked apart one by one. On the tactical display, Vector watched as the human ship executed another impossible maneuver. It rotated in place, bringing its weapons to bear on 3 different targets simultaneously. 3 shots, 3 impacts, 3 more Krellian vessels going dark. "Sir, the fleet morale is collapsing." his first officer reported quietly. Ships are beginning to pull back on their own initiative regardless of orders. Vector looked at the officer, a veteran warrior he had served with for 15 years. He saw the truth in the officer's eyes. The fleet was broken, not just damaged or disorganized, but truly broken in spirit. His warriors, who had conquered worlds, were terrified of a single enemy ship. "How many ships have we lost now?" Vector asked quietly. 16 destroyed, 22 disabled or severely damaged, Seclin answered. "Only 5 vessels remain at full combat capability, including ours. More than 3/4 of his fleet gone. The Emperor would have his head for this. But more importantly, the Empire's reputation would suffer. Word would spread across the galaxy that the mighty Krellian Empire had been defeated by a single unknown vessel. Enemies who had been too frightened to resist might find courage. Allies might question their loyalty. "Sir, incoming communication from the human ship," the communications officer announced. "Put it through," Vector ordered. A human face appeared on the screen. It was the first time Vector had actually seen one of these creatures. The human looked similar to several other species in the galaxy. Bilateral symmetry, forward-facing eyes, what appeared to be a mouth below a small nose, but there was something in those eyes. A coldness and calculation that reminded Vector of apex predators he had seen on hunting worlds. "This is Commander Jake Harrison of the United Earth Space Force," the human said through the translator. "You are attacking allies of humanity. You have one chance to withdraw your forces. Leave this system now, or I will destroy every ship you have." Vector felt anger rise up inside him. This human from a species that should have been easy prey was giving him an ultimatum. The Admiral's pride demanded that he refuse, that he order his remaining ships to attack until the last one was destroyed. But pride would not bring back his ships. Pride would not explain to the Emperor why an entire fleet had been lost. "Who are you?" Vector demanded. "What species produces warriors like you?" The human's expression did not change. "We are humans. We come from a planet called Earth, and you have made a very serious mistake by attacking our friends." "Your weapons," Vector said. "How do they penetrate our shields?" "That information is classified," the human commander replied. "You have 30 seconds to make your decision. Withdraw or be destroyed." Vector looked at his tactical display one more time. 5 combat-capable ships against 1 human vessel. Under normal circumstances, it would be an easy victory. But these were not normal circumstances. Every tactical assumption he had relied on for his entire career had been proven wrong in the last 15 minutes. "Admiral, what are your orders?" his first officer asked quietly. Vector closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, he had made his decision. He would live with the shame, but at least he would live. His remaining crew would live. They could learn from this defeat, adapt, and come back stronger. "Signal all ships," he said, his voice heavy with defeat. "We are withdrawing from this system. Maximum speed to the jump point, yes." "Sir?" came the replies from around the bridge. The 5 remaining Krellian warships that could still maneuver turned away from the battle and began accelerating toward the edge of the system where they could safely jump to, faster than light travel. Behind them, they left 22 disabled ships and the debris of 16 others. Thousands of Krellian warriors were dead or captured. As his ship fled, Admiral Vector stared at the image of the human vessel on his screen. The USS Defender sat there in space, not pursuing, just watching them go. It looked so small, so insignificant. But Vector knew the truth now. Humanity had just announced itself to the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same again. The bridge of the USS Defender was quiet for a long moment, after the last Krellian ship vanished into faster-than-light travel. Jake Harrison watched the empty space where the enemy fleet had been, then turned to look at his crew. Everyone was staring at their screens, processing what had just happened. "Status report," Jake said, breaking the silence. Amy Foster checked her weapons console. "All systems normal, sir. We used about 30% of our railgun ammunition. Missile tubes still fully loaded. We never needed to use them. Shields at 88% and recharging," Linda Martinez added. "No hull damage. Minor stress on the starboard engine from the evasive maneuvers, but nothing that affects performance." "We won," Chris Bennett said quietly, almost like he could not believe it. "We just defeated an entire fleet." "We did," Jake confirmed. "But do not get overconfident. We had surprise on our side and superior technology. The Krellians did not know what they were facing. Next time, they will be better prepared. Ryan Clark spoke up from the helm. Sir, we are being hailed by multiple ships. The Confederation fleet wants to talk to us. Jake straightened his uniform. This was the other part of the mission, the part that might be even more important than the battle. First contact with an alien civilization, or in this case, 7 alien civilizations at once. Put the senior Confederation commander on screen, Jake ordered. The main view screen changed to show an alien face. The creature had blue-gray skin, 3 eyes arranged in a triangle pattern, and what looked like tentacles where a human would have hair. According to the briefing files from Earth Intelligence, this was a Valorian, one of the founding members of the Confederation. I am Fleet Commander Zelnoth of the Confederation Defense Force, the alien said. The translator built into the communication system rendered the words in clear English. On behalf of the Confederation Council, I thank you for your intervention. You saved many lives today. But I must ask, who are you? What species commands such power? Jake took a breath. This moment would be studied and analyzed by historians for generations. I am Commander Jake Harrison, representing the United Earth Space Force and the governments of planet Earth. We are humans. The Confederation sent out a request for aid to any species capable of responding. We received that message and decided to help. Zelnoth's 3 eyes blinked in sequence, which the cultural database said indicated surprise. Earth? I have never heard of this world. Our star charts do not show any inhabited systems in this region with that name. How is it that a previously unknown species possesses such advanced military technology? We have been developing our civilization in isolation, Jake explained. We only recently achieved faster-than-light travel. When we did, we detected Confederation signals and learned about the galactic community. We also learned about the Krellian threat. We decided it was time to make contact and offer assistance. Another alien appeared on the screen next to Zelnoth, this one with 6 limbs and covered in what looked like golden fur. I am Ambassador Krentok, the alien said. Forgive my directness, Commander Harrison, but I must understand what we witnessed. Your single vessel defeated a Krellian fleet that had been terrorizing this sector for months. How is this possible? Jake considered how much to reveal. Earth Command had given him guidelines, but ultimately the decision was his. Our species has a long history of warfare, he said carefully. We have refined our military technology over many generations. Our weapon systems are based on kinetic energy rather than directed energy, which gives us certain advantages against opponents who rely heavily on energy shields. Kinetic weapons, Zelnoth repeated slowly. You mean physical projectiles? But the speeds required to make such weapons effective at space combat ranges would be enormous. The power requirements alone are substantial, Jake agreed, but manageable with the right technology. We have had success with electromagnetic acceleration systems. The 2 aliens looked at each other. Jake could see them having a rapid conversation in some kind of side channel. Finally, Zelnoth turned back to the screen. Commander Harrison, the Confederation Council will want to meet with you formally. This is a momentous occasion. A new species appearing at our time of greatest need, with the capability to stand against the Krellian Empire. There will be many questions, many discussions about what this means for the future. I understand, Jake said. We are prepared to engage in diplomatic talks. However, I should make something clear from the beginning. Earth does not seek to conquer or dominate. We believe in the principles of freedom and self-determination. We offered our help because the Confederation was fighting against an aggressor. We will continue to help as long as our assistance is wanted and our principles are respected. Ambassador Krentok's fur rippled in what might have been approval. Those are good words, Commander. I hope they reflect the true nature of your species. We have learned to be cautious. The Krellians too spoke of noble principles when they first entered our space. Then they showed their true nature. I understand your caution, Jake replied. We will prove ourselves through our actions, not just our words. That is all any species can do. Wise words from a young commander, Zelnoth said. Very well. I am transmitting coordinates for Confederation Central Command. It is 3 days' travel from here at standard faster-than-light speeds. The Council is already being summoned for an emergency session. They will want to meet you as soon as possible. We will set course immediately, Jake confirmed. But first, I notice there are disabled Krellian ships still in the area. What will be done with them? They will be secured and their crews taken as prisoners of war, Zelnoth explained. Some of the vessels might be salvaged. Why do you ask? I recommend you study their technology carefully, Jake said. The Krellians will adapt their tactics now that they know about us. They will try to find weaknesses in our approach. The more you understand about their systems, the better prepared you will be for future encounters. Zelnoth's expression, as much as Jake could read alien body language, seemed to show respect. You think like a warrior, Commander, not just how to win the current battle, but how to prepare for the next one. I believe we will work well together. I hope so, Jake said. We have a lot to learn from each other. After the communication ended, Jake turned to his crew. They all looked exhausted, the adrenaline from the battle wearing off. Good work, everyone, he said. I know that was intense, but you all performed exactly as you were trained. Earth should be proud of you. Sir, Amy spoke up. What happens now? I mean, after we meet with the Confederation Council, are we going to be fighting the Krellians regularly? Jake walked over to the viewport and looked out at the stars. I do not know, he admitted. That will be up to the politicians and diplomats back home. Our job was to make contact and demonstrate that humanity can be a valuable ally. We have done that. What comes next will be decided by people with much more authority than me. But if they do ask us to stay and fight, Ryan said quietly, we will stay, right? If Earth Command orders us to stay, we will stay, Jake confirmed. But I suspect we will be heading home soon. This was a first contact mission, not a full military deployment. There will be other ships coming, other crews. We have opened the door. Others will walk through it. Linda stood up from her station and stretched. I, for one, will not miss being shot at by multiple warships, though I have to admit it felt good to show those Krellians what human engineering can do. It did, Jake agreed with a small smile. But let us not forget that we took a risk today. We went into battle against unknown enemies with unknown capabilities. We were lucky that our technology gave us such a decisive advantage. In a different situation, against a different enemy, things might not go as well. Are you saying we should not be confident? Chris asked. I am saying we should be confident but not arrogant, Jake explained. Confidence is knowing what you can do and trusting your abilities. Arrogance is assuming you will always win no matter what. The first keeps you sharp, the second gets you killed. The crew nodded, understanding his point. They were all trained military personnel, and they knew the difference between healthy confidence and dangerous overconfidence. All right, Jake said. Ryan, set course for Confederation Central Command. Chris, send a message to Earth Command with a full report of the engagement. Linda, I want you to review all the battle data and prepare a detailed analysis. Amy, run full diagnostics on all weapon systems. Just because they worked once does not mean we can take them for granted. Yes, sir, came the chorus of responses. As the crew went back to their tasks, Jake returned to his command chair and sat down. He looked at the stars streaming past as the Defender jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying them toward their next challenge. Humanity had just taken its first real step onto the galactic stage, and the entire universe would be watching to see what happened next. 3 days later, the USS Defender dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the coordinates provided by Fleet Commander Zelnoth. Jake Harrison stood on the bridge, watching as Confederation Central Command came into view on the main screen. It was impressive. A massive space station, easily 50 kilometers across, hung in orbit around a blue and green planet. The station was not one unified structure, but rather dozens of different sections connected by transport tubes and docking bridges. Each section appeared to be built in a different architectural style, reflecting the diverse species that made up the Confederation. I am reading hundreds of ships in the area, Linda Martinez reported from her station. Defense platforms, cargo vessels, diplomatic shuttles. This place is busy. It is their capital, Jake said. Makes sense that it would be heavily populated. Chris, are we being hailed? Yes, sir, the ensign replied. Traffic control is giving us approach vectors. They are directing us to docking bay 17 in the diplomatic section. Ryan, take us in, Jake ordered, nice and slow. Let us not make anyone nervous. The Defender glided toward the station, passing by several Confederation warships that were holding position nearby. Jake could see sensor dishes on those ships tracking his vessel's every movement. They were nervous, he realized. They had seen what the human ship could do in combat, and they were not sure whether to treat it as a savior or a potential threat. Sir, I am detecting weapons targeting our ship, Linda announced. Multiple platforms have acquired lock. They are not powering up to fire, but they are ready. Stand down all weapon systems, Jake ordered. Bring shields to minimum power. I want them to see that we are here in peace. Are you sure that is wise, sir? Amy asked. If something goes wrong, we are deep in their territory, surrounded by their entire defense fleet, Jake said calmly. Our shields would not save us anyway. Better to show good faith. The Defender moved into the designated docking bay, which was large enough to accommodate ships much bigger than itself. Massive doors closed behind them once they were inside, and the bay began to fill with atmosphere. Jake felt the soft bump as the ship's landing gear touched down on the deck. We have docked, Ryan reported. Atmospheric pressure stable. Gravity at 0.9 Earth normal. Breathable air with standard oxygen and nitrogen mix. Good, Jake said. He stood up and straightened his uniform. Amy, Linda, you are with me. Chris, Ryan, you have the bridge. If anything happens, anything at all, you get this ship out of here and back to Earth. Understood? Understood, sir, both officers replied, though they looked unhappy about the idea of leaving their commander behind. Jake, Amy, and Linda made their way to the airlock. This was the first time humans would set foot on an alien structure. Another moment for the history books. Jake took a deep breath as the airlock cycled open. On the other side, a delegation was waiting. There were at least 20 aliens of various species, all wearing what appeared to be formal attire. In the front was Fleet Commander Zelnoth and Ambassador Krentok, the two aliens Jake had spoken with after the battle. Commander Harrison, Zelnoth said, stepping forward. Welcome to Confederation Central Command. On behalf of the Council, I formally welcome humanity to the galactic community. Thank you, Fleet Commander, Jake replied. He had practiced this part with the diplomatic experts back on Earth. On behalf of the people of Earth, I accept your welcome and express our hope for peaceful and productive relations between our peoples. Ambassador Krentok moved forward, his 6 limbs moving in a careful pattern. Please follow us. The Council has assembled and is eager to meet you. I must warn you, there will be many questions. Some Council members are very excited about humanity's arrival. Others are more cautious. I understand, Jake said. We are prepared to answer whatever questions we can. They walked through the station's corridors, and Jake tried to take in everything he saw. Aliens of species he did not recognize hurried past on various errands. Some stopped to stare at the humans, their reactions ranging from curiosity to what might have been fear. Jake noticed security personnel, heavily armed, maintaining a discreet but visible presence. The council chamber was enormous, a circular room with seating arranged in tiers that rose up toward a domed ceiling. Representatives from the 7 Confederation species sat in their designated sections, each area designed to accommodate the specific needs of that species. There were seats for beings that stood upright, pools for aquatic creatures, and environmental chambers for those who required different atmospheric conditions. Jake and his officers were led to a platform in the center of the chamber. As they took their positions, Jake counted roughly 200 aliens watching them. The weight of their attention was almost physical. A being that looked like a collection of floating crystals spoke first, its voice coming through the translation system as a pleasant chime. I am Council Speaker Vintus. We have called this emergency session to discuss the arrival of humanity and the implications for the Confederation. Commander Harrison, we have reviewed the battle records from the recent engagement with Krellian forces. Your victory was decisive and impressive. Thank you, Speaker, Jake replied. However, we must understand what we are dealing with, Vintas continued. Your species appears from nowhere, with military technology that surpasses our own and even that of the Krellian Empire. How are we to know your intentions? How are we to know that you will not become a threat to us once the Krellian threat is dealt with? The chamber fell silent, waiting for Jake's response. This was the critical moment. How he answered would shape humanity's relationship with the Confederation for years to come. Speaker, members of the Council, I understand your concerns, Jake began. History has taught you to be cautious of powerful newcomers. But I ask you to consider our actions, rather than just our capabilities. We could have ignored your distress call. We could have stayed hidden and watched the Krellians conquer your worlds. Instead, we revealed ourselves and fought on your behalf. We asked for nothing in return. Yet, said another council member, this one resembling a massive insect with iridescent wings. You asked for nothing yet. Many conquerors begin with gifts and aid only to demand payment later. That is true, Jake acknowledged. I cannot prove our intentions with words alone. But I can tell you about humanity's history. We come from a world where we spent thousands of years fighting each other. We know the cost of war. We know what it means to lose homes, families, entire civilizations. We learned slowly and painfully that cooperation is better than conflict. We built a unified government on Earth not through conquest but through mutual agreement. He paused, looking around the chamber at all the watching eyes. When we detected your signals and learned about the galactic community, we had a choice. We could hide, stay isolated, and hope the conflicts of the galaxy never reached our world, or we could step forward and offer our help. We chose to help because we believe that species who fight for freedom deserve support. We do not ask you to trust us completely. We ask only that you give us the chance to prove ourselves. Ambassador Krentok spoke up. Beautiful words, Commander. But the Council requires more than speeches. What exactly does Earth want from this relationship? Trade, Jake said simply. Knowledge. Cultural exchange. We are new to the galaxy. There is much we do not know. In exchange for your wisdom and experience, we offer our friendship and our military assistance against those who would conquer and oppress. Military assistance, Ventus repeated. You mean you want to join the war against the Krellian Empire? If that is what the Confederation wishes and if Earth Command approves, then yes, Jake confirmed. But let me be clear. We do not seek to fight for the sake of fighting. We do not want territory or tribute. We simply believe that the Krellians should not be allowed to continue their expansion. We believe the species of this galaxy have the right to determine their own futures. Another council member, a being made of what looked like living water contained in a transparent suit, spoke up. The Krellian Empire will not forgive what you did. You destroyed or disabled 40 of their warships. You humiliated one of their admirals. They will want revenge. Are you prepared for what that means? We are, Jake said. We understand that our actions have made us targets. But we made that choice with full knowledge of the consequences. We do not regret it. The council members began talking among themselves, their various languages creating a strange symphony of sounds that the translators struggled to keep up with. Jake waited patiently, standing at attention with Amy and Linda beside him. Finally, Speaker Vinitas raised one of its crystalline appendages for silence. The council has much to discuss regarding humanity's place in the Confederation. This will require time and careful consideration. However, we wish to make one thing clear immediately. Your actions in defending our ships have earned our gratitude. Whatever else happens, you have friends here. Thank you, Speaker, Jake said, feeling some of the tension leave his shoulders. We will arrange for quarters for you and your crew while these discussions take place. Ventus continued. I hope you will take this time to learn about our peoples as we wish to learn about yours. The galaxy is changing, Commander Harrison. Your arrival. 5 days passed while the Confederation Council debated humanity's proposal. During that time, Jake and his crew had been given quarters on the station and freedom to move about the diplomatic section. It was a strange experience, being surrounded by aliens who looked at them with mixtures of hope, fear, and curiosity. Jake spent his mornings in meetings with various council members who wanted to understand Earth better. He answered questions about human history, culture, and technology. He tried to be honest about humanity's flaws while also highlighting their strengths. It was exhausting work, but necessary. His afternoons were spent with Amy and Linda, exploring the station and learning about the different Confederation species. They visited markets where goods from dozens of worlds were traded. They saw gardens that grew plants under alien suns. They ate food that sometimes tasted wonderful and sometimes made their stomachs regret the choice. On the 5th evening, Jake was in his quarters reviewing reports when Chris Bennett's voice came over his communication device. Commander, you are being summoned to the council chamber. They have reached a decision. Jake felt his heart rate increase. This was it. The moment that would determine humanity's future relationship with the galactic community. I am on my way, he replied. 20 minutes later, Jake stood once again on the central platform in the council chamber. Amy and Linda were with him, along with Ryan and Chris, who had been called from the ship. All 5 humans wore their formal uniforms, pressed and perfect. Speaker Vinitas began without preamble. Commander Harrison, the council has completed its deliberations. We have had many discussions, some quite heated, about what to do regarding humanity's offer of alliance. I will not pretend that all council members are in complete agreement. However, we have reached a consensus, Jake waited, keeping his expression neutral. The Confederation Council formally recognizes Earth as a sovereign world, and humanity as a species with full rights under Confederation law, Vinitas announced. Furthermore, we accept your offer of military cooperation against the Krellian Empire. However, this acceptance comes with conditions. What conditions? Jake asked. Ambassador Krentok spoke up. First, Earth must agree to open diplomatic relations with all Confederation member species. This means establishing embassies, allowing travel and trade, and participating in council sessions when matters affect humanity. That seems reasonable, Jake said. Second, Krentok continued, any human military vessels operating in Confederation space must coordinate with our defense forces. We cannot have independent actions that might undermine larger strategic plans. Your ship is powerful, Commander, but wars are won through coordination, not individual heroics. Understood, Jake agreed. We are willing to work within a command structure. Third, and this is perhaps the most important condition, Speaker Vintaz said, Earth must agree to share some of its military technology with the Confederation. Not your most advanced secrets, we understand the need for security, but enough to help level the playing field against the Krellians. Your kinetic weapons, for example, could be adapted to our vessels. This would give us a significant tactical advantage. Jake hesitated. This was the difficult part. Earth Command had given him authority to negotiate, but sharing military technology was a serious decision. I will need to communicate with my superiors about that, he said carefully. I cannot make that commitment on my own authority. We understand, Vintaz replied. But you should know that this is a deal breaker for several council members. They fear that if only humans possess these weapons, humanity will hold too much power within the Confederation. They want assurance that the balance will be maintained. Jake thought about it from their perspective. They were asking a newcomer species to integrate into their society, to fight their wars, to become part of their community. It made sense that they would want to ensure that community remained balanced. If only humans had the really effective weapons, it would create an unequal power dynamic that could lead to problems down the road. I understand their concern, Jake said, and I believe Earth will agree to share some technology. Our people value cooperation and mutual defense, but I must insist on a condition of my own. The council members leaned forward with interest. What condition? Asked the insect-like representative. Any technology we share must not be shared further without our permission, Jake said. We need assurance that our innovations will not end up in the hands of species that might use them against us or against innocent civilizations. If we give you railgun technology, you must agree that it stays within the Confederation. The council members looked at each other and had a brief discussion. Then Speaker Vinitas nodded. That is acceptable. We will draw up formal technology sharing agreements with appropriate security provisions. Then I believe we can make this work, Jake said. I will need to send a detailed message to Earth Command explaining the terms. With the time lag for communications, it will take several days to receive a response, but I am confident they will approve. Excellent, Vinitas said. While we wait for confirmation from Earth, we have other matters to discuss. Fleet Commander Zelnoth has a proposal regarding the deployment of human forces. Zelnoth stood up in his section of the chamber. Commander Harrison, we have intelligence indicating that the Krellians are planning a major offensive in the Outer Rim sectors. 3 systems are at immediate risk. Normally, we would need to divide our fleet to defend all 3, which weakens our position. But with your ship's capabilities, I believe we could take a different approach. Jake studied the tactical display that appeared on the screen. 3-star systems, each about 5 days' travel from Confederation Central. What do you have in mind? The Krellians typically commit their forces to one target at a time, overwhelming it before moving on, Zelnoth explained. If we could strike at their staging area before they launch their attack, we could disrupt their entire campaign. But our intelligence on the exact location of that staging area is incomplete. We would need to conduct a reconnaissance mission. And you want the Defender to conduct that reconnaissance, Jake said, understanding where this was going. Your ship has proven capable of surviving in hostile situations, Zelnoth said, and your stealth systems are superior to ours. You could penetrate deep into Krellian space, locate their staging area, and return with intelligence that would allow us to plan a proper counteroffensive. Amy leaned close to Jake and whispered, "That is a very dangerous mission, sir. We would be far from any support." "I know," Jake whispered back. Then louder he addressed the council. "Fleet Commander, I appreciate the confidence you have in my ship and crew. But I need to point out that we have only one vessel. If something goes wrong during this reconnaissance mission, Earth's entire military presence in this region would be eliminated." "We understand the risk," Zelnoth acknowledged. "That is why we are asking, not ordering. If you believe the mission is too dangerous, we will find another way." Jake looked at his crew. Linda gave him a slight nod. Amy looked uncertain but determined. Ryan and Chris both had expressions that said they were ready for whatever he decided. The truth was, this was exactly the kind of mission the Defender had been designed for. Deep penetration reconnaissance, gathering intelligence in hostile territory, getting in and out without being detected. If they could locate the Krellian staging area, they could save thousands of lives and possibly turn the tide of the war. "We will do it," Jake said, "but we will need detailed intelligence briefings, updated star charts of Krellian space, and any information you have about their patrol patterns and sensor networks." "You will have everything we have," Zelnoth promised. "Thank you, Commander. This could be the key to stopping the Krellian offensive before it starts." The council session continued for another hour, covering various details about humanity's integration into the Confederation. But Jake's mind was already working on the reconnaissance mission. It would be dangerous, possibly the most dangerous thing they had attempted so far, but it was also necessary. Later that evening, Jake gathered his senior officers in the ship's briefing room. He laid out the mission parameters and waited for their reactions. "We are going to sneak into the heart of enemy territory," Amy said slowly. "Find their fleet staging area, then sneak back out, all while avoiding what I assume will be heavy patrols and sensor coverage." "That about sums it up," Jake confirmed. Ryan rubbed his face with both hands. "Well, nobody can say this job is boring." "Do we have a timeline?" Linda asked, always focused on the practical details. "We leave in 3 days," Jake said. "That gives us time to upload all the intelligence data the Confederation has, run simulations, and make sure the ship is in perfect condition. I want every system checked and double-checked. We will not get a second chance if something fails at a critical moment." Chris looked thoughtful. "Sir, the Krellians will be looking for us now. After what we did to their fleet, they will have warned all their forces about human ships. Our stealth systems are good, but are they good enough?" "That is a valid concern," Jake admitted, "which is why we are going to take an indirect route. The Confederation has given us data on several uninhabited systems that connect to Krellian space. We will use those as waypoints.